I work for a unit that's in charge of space data for societal challenges and growth. And in particular, one of our main objectives is to increase the uptake of Copernicus data. That means that know that the program is operational, so we have the satellites flying, we're getting data, we need to maximize the uptake of this data and to make sure that people use it and people create jobs and growth thanks to the data. So that's the objective of our unit. There were an evaluation that was done in the context of the impact assessment for our regulation for Copernicus in 2014. It's an ex-ante evaluation, so it's still theoretical, but it stated that the Copernicus program would contribute in terms of valuated an extra 30 billion euros evaluated for Europe. So we're talking here about quite a lot of money. So in practice, that means that for every euro that we invest in the Copernicus program, we get more than 3 euros back. There are a lot of concrete examples of use of Copernicus to the benefits of the European citizens. For instance, you can use satellite data to help farmers decide where they want to put their fertilizers. You can use satellite data to help emergency services during an earthquake or a forest fire, to tell them where they should go. These kind of are very concrete examples of what you can do with satellite data. But let me just stop on one particular example, ice monitoring in Finland and Sweden. So we didn't know before that actually 90% of the imports of Finland come from the sea. So in a sense, Finland is as close to an island as it gets, which means that it's extremely important for Finland to have access to harbors throughout the year. But you know that, of course, it's very cold in the north, so sometimes the harbors are blocked by the ice. So they use icebreakers, of course. And before, what they were doing is that they had helicopters on the icebreakers to navigate around the icebreaker and to tell to the captain where the icebreaker should go to avoid the biggest ice movement. Thanks to satellite, they were able to develop the same service without helicopters and get the imagery of the movement of the ice with the satellites. It was much more efficient and much cheaper to do. And this has created quite a lot of benefits. Of course, there were some benefits for the icebreakers themselves because they didn't have to run an helicopter and a pilot to drive this helicopter around. There were benefits for the ships that were following the icebreakers because then they would actually arrive to the harbors more rapidly. There were benefits for the harbors managers who would know when the ships would come with more certainty than before. There were benefits for the stores in Finland that would know for sure that a given product would arrive on time in their store. And there would even be benefits for the citizens themselves who would know for sure that they could get a given product in the store. So you can see that there are a lot of benefits throughout the value chain, from the satellites to the actual end users. And what was really interesting, I think, about this example is that it was actually quantified. And the total benefits were estimated to be in the order of 120 million euros, just for that example. And here, we're talking about an application that costed only a few thousand euros to be developed. And you get 120 million euros in benefits. So the multiplier effect in that case is beyond 100 or 200 times what you actually invest. So it can be massive. We're having the satellites flying, we're getting data. What we realize now is that we really need an extra layer of involvement from the private sector to take this data and to make it available to the users. Only a company will be able to develop a service that is really targeting the need of a specific user. Only a company will be able to reach out to new customers, to reach out to new communities, to reach out to new markets, international markets, and to sell products abroad, for instance. So for all these reasons, it's extremely important that we get a strong involvement of the private sector, and in particular, a strong involvement of the IT sector. If you want the data to be used, you actually need to give it for free, and you need to give it to anyone. It is, in a sense, a public good that we're giving to the entire community to play with. And I think the great thing about that is that an application developer could simply try the data, play a little bit with it, and see if it works, and see if it can develop, if that person can develop an interesting application that it can solve afterwards. And that, when you needed to pay for the data back in the time, or access to data was extremely complex, was almost impossible. It was so costly to actually develop an application that you would never try it. And then, thanks to Copernicus, it's entirely free. So you can use it, you can play with it, see if it works, you can test and try and see whether you can actually develop a successful application. The weakest link in the Copernicus value chain is probably data access. It's relatively difficult to access the data. We want to improve that. And to do so, we want to develop new platforms where you can actually access the data online and you can actually compute the data online. Because the volume of the Copernicus archive is so huge, it could become extremely costly for, let's say, a small and medium enterprise to actually store the data in their own premises, because the data is extremely large. So instead of that, we'll bring this SME online and to play with the data online in the cloud. And that's, I think, a major step forward for the uptake of Copernicus.